few lines above middle page mem. The line starts with the word ha-atzmit. The Rebbe is pointing out that there are two inyonim. There is the etzem and there is the hispashtus, the ha'ora. We discussed this, the inyan ha'ora and etzem yesterday. Well, although ha'ora is a reflection of what the etzem is, but it is a functional reflection, not the essential reflection. The essence in it as such, it's not reflectable. It is its own presence. If the etzem is nimshach, that means it's a whole etzem is nimshach. We discussed this, I think, quite extensively yesterday, of the significance of the presence of the etzem. All this, just want to put us in context, is to explain the difference between the two forms, the two methods of hashpah, the two levels of hashpah, you can say. Hashpah is hashpah ruchnis and hashpah gufnis. Hashpah ruchnis, as for example, hashpah Sechel, in comparison to hashpah gufnis, as for example, birth. And we're saying that hashpah ruchnis is a hashpah that involves exclusively just the level of ha'ora, which means the effect of this inyan, of this sechel. Like we said that the sechel that the Rav is mashpia is a sechel that he understands, not the essence of his sechel. And then we also gave a definition to the meaning of hispashtus, hamshocha v'hispashtus. Hamshocha v'hispashtus, the etzem can also be nimshach. But it is not nimshach outside of itself. It's not nimshach in placing in itself in a position of being a mashpia, of being a mayor. The etzem itself can be in many places, but it remains essentially what it is. Hamshocha is only hamshocha, that it should become b'bchinas mashpia, that its function would be to illuminate. That is only in oir. Okay. So now we are starting towards the end of the line that begins ha-atzmit. That's a few lines above the middle. The koyach ha-maskil, and thus the koyach ha-maskil, the koyach that makes one understand. Shehu b'bchinas hamshocha v'hispashtus, which is in a state, it qualifies as being in a state of hamshocha v'hispashtus. The whole, which means li is mokoir, the name for koyach hamaskil, it makes you understand that it should be a mokoir for sechel. It should enable sechel. Arei zeh ha'ora levad. Thus, that tells us that the koyach hamaskil is a ha'ora levad. Let me speaking about these details, assuming that we know what he's talking about. Just want to put a little bit in perspective. We speak about this all the time. In Sechel, there is the structure of Sechel. We understand this, the logic. It may even be said, if we can sense the sensitivity of this, logic itself has a basis for being being accepted. That basis, now why does it make sense? What does it mean? Sechel makes sense. That is mitzad the koyach hamaskil. Any seichel makes sense. Why? Because we have the koyach hamaskil. The koyach hamaskil, this is that which gives us this sense, this perspective, that if it's a seichel, we can relate to it. Relate to Sechel. This is the koyach hamaskil. Now, the koyach hamaskil itself is not Sechel. It only supports Sechel. Nevertheless, because it is b'chinas hamshocha, therefore it is called the ha-or. In what way is a koyach hamaskil b'chinas hamshocha? And this is where this becomes a little bit difficult to sense. It seems to us that when you explain something and it makes sense, that making sense, this is my whole being. And the truth is that it's not the whole being. Now this is the koyach hamaskil. This is already, when a person is already in a state inclined towards understanding. He can be disinclined towards understanding before that element is developed. And then he doesn't understand. Not that he doesn't, he just doesn't sense what you're talking about. What does understanding mean? Therefore, the koyach hamaskil is inclined towards understanding, which means it is a ha'ora. It reflects an element from the nefesh, true, but an element from the nefesh at the level of inclination, at the level of being effective towards the outside, towards the Sechel, enabling the Sechel. Therefore, this is a ha'or. Just like we have the mashal of the sunlight. Remember yesterday several times. Sunlight. What is light? It's not an essential thing. It is to enable to see. The sun does not come down to enable to see. Sunlight does come down to enable to see. To the extent where it actually hits an object and deflects and goes to your right. This is the enable. This is the ha'ora. Hamaskil therefore is a ha'ora. Then we go further on a deeper level. All this is to clearly show us that Sechel in general, I suppose ha-Sechel, is a ha'ora. So far we've showed, so to speak, that the koyach hamaskil is only ha'ora. Then further up, v'kasher hamshochas ha-Sechel. When the hamshocha of the Sechel hu me'ha-koyach ha-atzmit the Sechel, it is nimshach, it is drawn from the koyach ha-atzmit of Sechel, the essential koyach ha-Sechel. Which we said is not Sechel at all. This is what the human soul is. We'll come back to this in a moment. Harehu b'bchinas bli gvul. So that hamshocha does have an element of bli gvul legabe ha-Sechel shebeir yosher. Relative to the Sechel that's in the Eir Yosher canal. Here it's going to be extremely fine. We'll try to identify the various things. When it comes from the koyach ha-Sechel ha-atzmi, so then that has a quality of bli gvul. We discussed the principle of bli gvul as pertains to Sechel, for example. If I may, I want to deviate a little. I want to give us a little bit of a handle. We discussed it many times in the past several days. Like we said a long time ago, we said the table stands on the floor is supported by beams, the beams are supported by the wall is supported by the foundation is supported by the earth, and the earth is not supported. The earth is there where it's supposed to be. This is called Bli Gvul. It's just the godly reality. Sechel has this Bli Gvul element. So Etzem Koyach Sechel, this is clearly very, very far and deeply rooted and deeply imbued a element in the person. But there is that in ha-atzmit. Like we pointed out, that many instances where you can actually notice that it's a koyach ha-atzmit. One instance is when the man is completely in denial of his humanity, and yet you can reach him at the humanity level. Because if you ask him point blank, are you a human being or a dog, he'll be insulted. Why will he be insulted? Because there's an AyinBase element in the verse. This is one of the points we made a long time ago. As a human being evolved from a monkey. Try it. Go over to this guy across the street and say, "Hey, monkey," see how he'll respond to it. See whether he's going to be able to accept it, and, without a reaction. He'll say, "I'm not a monkey. What's the matter with you? Don't you believe in evolution?" Oh. Because the koyach ha-atzmit, you hardly ever touch upon it. But when we touch upon it, this is Bli Gvul, this is standalone. What makes a difference? What makes you deny it from your hand? After all, you look like a monkey, you walk like a monkey. But I'm not a monkey. This is called Bli Gvul. An essential truth that comes only because there's a creator, not an evolutionary process. So that koyach it's like a bibichinas Bli Gvul. It doesn't have to justify, it doesn't have to explain itself. How come I know it? I know it because I know it. Because it's true, that's why I know it. So relative to the koyach Sechel that comes be'ir yoshor, this is bibichinas Bli Gvul. There's an element of Bli Gvul. U'mikom okoy. Nevertheless, even so, gam zehu b'bchinas hagbola be'emes. Now, as we already explained before, even that hamshocha, that gilui, is also in hagbolas. In truth, has an element of hagbola. And as we pointed out many times, when we say be'emes, it means that on the surface you may not notice it. But in truth, what does truth mean? Truth means literally that which stands completely on its own. That, from that perspective, really it is not Bli Gvul. Why? Mipnei, because זה שנמצא מציאות Sechel. Because this fact, שנמצא מציאות Sechel, that a mitzias, a presence of Sechel, comes forth and has a presence of Sechel. Gam mikoyach ha-atzmit, even if it is drawn from the koyach ha-atzmit of Sechel. I'm going to stop for a moment and to remind us, we had a whole discussion. What's so special about Sechel? What the emphasis on Sechel? We pointed out that, for one thing, the Sechel is that part in the human being that gives him a real personal, individual presence. That's Sechel. All other koiches could be reactive. Sechel is that which gives him a sense of reality. As in our simple experience, and the Sechel, Yosher and so forth, Sechel is the one that says, wait a minute, let me see if I agree with, if I see what you say. This wait a minute means I have to bring my own understanding to this, which means a Sechel is my own understanding. It is not reactive. Just to illustrate. So even the Sechel that is drawn from the koyach ha-atzmit, that too is b'bchinas hagbola be'emes. Mipnei, because of the fact that zeh shenimtza mitzius Sechel, the fact that there is a presence of Sechel, gam mikoyach ha-atzmit, even though it comes from koyach ha-atzmit, ein zeh hamshochas mehuz hakoyach le'atzmus. This Sechel that comes from koyach ha-atzmit does not represent the mehuz hakoyach le'atzmus, the reality of the koyach itself and its essence. Ki only, rather, mashenimtzo mimenu gilui oir levad. It is coming from the koyach ha-atzmit, but from the koyach ha-atzmit, this is only gilui oir from the koyach ha-atzmit. As we shall see, through this is a different kind of oir. Nevertheless, it is only oir. It is not the koyach ha-atzmit that is nimshach in the presence of Sechel.
What was the last? Sorry, what was the last?
It's not the koyach ha-atzmit that comes in a presence of Sechel. It is only ha-ora of the atzmit. As we already said before, just a few lines above, that the etzem is not nimshach. Etzem does not illuminate. Etzem does not make a statement of what Sechel is. Etzem cannot be defined on a functional level. I want to give us perhaps an additional perspective, a broader perspective of etzem. we discussed many times that etzem is not a worldly concept. In the world, there's nothing that qualifies as etzem. Because the world means zman u'mokum, which means it is always some kind of combination of different forces and different effects. It's not an etzem. Etzem means an essential truth of the inner of itself. Like, for example, Sechel, as we understand, Sechel has a whole process, a structure, a logical structure. This is how it fits into the world. Etzem, koyach ha-sechel, the world cannot accommodate that type of thing. That type of thing means a thing that does not have any kind of additional support. Like we said before, the earth is suspended in mid-air, in mid-nothingness. This is not a worldly phenomenon. It's not the world that's holding it up. This is the point of we say, Hashem has decreed it should be like this. This is a godly thing. There's no worldly means by which we can put it in perspective. Thus, taking from this the Tanya Sechel, Etzem koyach ha-sechel. Step back for a moment. We have many moments of illustration of this evening, of etzem. Like we said, if you would recall, I'm sure you recall, a tree is standing and has roots, and it's holding on to the earth for its support. And we said that could not be at the end of the story, because the earth functions on a level where it is not concerned about its support, its survival at all. It functions wholesomely, just doing its thing, producing fruit, but that has nothing to do with support, with its survival. It has to do with what the service it brings to the world, and that is the richness of this tree. Therefore, we said this tree has an essential presence. This essential presence is not its own doing, because if it has to hold on to the earth in order to survive, it could not. It is not an essential presence. It could not be that rich and devoid of any kind of limits. It is, as we said, the earth is holding on to the tree. This is the principle of etzem koyach ha-sechel. Every level of koyach ha-sechel, ha'oram, like we said, koyach ha-maskil and all that, that is something which can be explained what's holding you up. Koyach ha-maskil, the rotzen, the noineg, and so forth. Etzem koyach ha-sechel, this is something which is there by godly decree. Because Hashem made the human being in a certain way. So the human being will be human, and that's what He has said.
Just on this question, on this mashal, I understand the mashals, but where is the fact that the tree needs water and sunlight, and if you deprive certain things from the tree, the tree is not going to be able to grow. It's going to die. It's not that the tree is trying to get these things. It's happening from, but where does that come in?
That is this is the keli of the tree, the physical structure of the tree. That yes, it draws water through its roots and so forth. But this is not the essence of the tree. This is all for survival. The essence of the tree, where do you see the essence? That it is independently rich, above its survival. You see that in its product. Like we say, Shlomo HaMelech says in Kehelis. Kehelis is a elaboration of the human experience, essentially, from top to bottom, attempting to identify where is the human being. What is this all about? What am I about? And what is the conclusion of the whole Kehelis? Soif Dover. What is the Soif Dover? What's the end? As Olekimi Rob, as Mitzvah Shmir, ki Sechel ha-Adam. Nothing to do with self-support, nothing to do with self-satisfaction, self-aggrandizement, nothing to do with that at all. Olekimi Rob, as Mitzvah Shmir, this is Adam. If you come to the point where you're free of any other concern, except for Olekimi Rob, as Mitzvah Shmir, then you have reached the Adam. Then you are a full-fledged human being. This is what God created. This is the final call. This, Kol ha-Adam, this is Mamish Kol ha-Adam, this is the Etzem ha-Adam. This is the atzmius that Hashem has given to the human being, where he functions at the level with a total unconcerned, like Toil Eretz Al Blima. His only concern is, how do I do mitzvahs behidur? Elokim mirobes mitzvahs hashmeir. Zeh kol ha'odem. This is a whole human being. This etzem koyach ha-sechel, this is at that level. Etzem koyach ha-sechel is where the sechel is no longer your experience. It's the godly presence. God give you a sechel. I understand because this is what God is supporting my understanding. This is etzem koyach ha-sechel. This is not the functioning level of the sechel. That I understand. That's already the hamshach. And when there is a hamshach from the etzem koyach ha-sechel, that's what we said, even when there is a hamshach from etzem koyach ha-sechel, I have to finish this line. If we finish this line, Ein ze hamshachas mehus ha-koyach ve'atzmusay. What's nimshach is not the mehus ha-koyach. Mehus means that which God created.
So even when a person is functioning on this level, this is not Mahus HaKoyach.
This is not Mahus HaKoyach. He is functional. This is the ha-order from that. He senses that he is a real presence, and therefore he is able to dedicate himself. But in that dedication, that understanding, this is the ha-order of that truth. That the truth itself cannot be nimshach. it does not translate in any kind of a functioning level. Mehaor.
So that's truly bleak bull. The Etzem Koyach.
The Etzem Koyach is bleak bull, but the ha'ora that comes from it is only ha'ora is bleak bull.
When you have a child, he has it too.
He has a whole too. Remember the story I told you about Nikolai, when the soldier got out and came out, and the one who says, "What's a soldier? One who stands on guard, or or the one who serves you?"
His clothes
Huh? Yeah. What's a soldier?
Who's serving? The clothes
Huh? Who's serving the clothes? The clothes are me. The clothes. This is my functioning. The expression of who I am. What's my function? Me is me. This is it for this morning, gentlemen, and we will. This is Thursday, as the best that I can recall, and therefore tonight the mission we'll have. We get together at 679 Crown Street. Be well. Today now is Cheshvan, right? Cheshvan, Himalayas from Rebbe Nashab. Yeah, and the official time is 8:30. The president said it's 8:30.